Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 10th day of October in the year of our Lord 2025. I will be talking about the second anniversary of the attacks by Hamas against the nation of Israel and its people, which occurred on October 7th, 2023. So the anniversary is this week. What's going on in the Middle East, especially in Gaza? Is all this mass trauma a reaction to October 7, or is there a lot more to it than that? This podcast was recorded too late for the settlement to be mentioned, the settlement that President Trump enacted in Gaza. But I don't think that changes my report at all. The question I have, and we'll explore in this report, is this: is the nation of Israel, and especially its leader, Bibi Netanyahu, as bad as they are portrayed in virtually all media today? For example, here is a quote from Paul Craig Roberts just to get us started. Quote, "Today the world faces an even more absurd situation. Israel, a tiny country with no resources except American money and protection, has Western foreign policy and apparently also Russia's in its tiny hands. For a quarter century, Americans have fought to destroy Arab nations for the sake of expanding Greater Israel. American soldiers were told by their lying government that they were dying and being permanently disabled to protect America from a non-existent Muslim terrorism when in fact they were dying for Greater Israel," end quote. Do you think that statement's true, folks? And if you do, why do you think so? Is your belief in whether it's true or false just based on how you view the world or how you think the world should be, or is it backed by evidence or personal experience? There are reasons to accept it as true, reasons that were not clear to me before the war in Gaza, but have been made clear as a result of international condemnation for the way Netanyahu has conducted that war in regard to Israel controlling American foreign policy. That seems to be a reality. It should trouble and even enrage any American to think that a country of 9 million controls the military and the State Department of this country of 330 million. That statement is especially true when you consider the spying on America, other less than friendly actions against Israel's only real friend in this world. Tucker Carlson has been the prime mover in bringing that situation to the attention of the American people. Tucker points out certain things about the behavior of the United States and that of Israel and asks why. Why is it that way? There are usually no good answers to his questions, which presents even more questions. But now it seems there may be changes happening. Quote, "I think the good news is that the government of Israel, in particular the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has pushed it too far, and he did that in part by running around telling people what he thought was true, apparently. I control Donald Trump," he said. "I control the United States Congress. I control the United States." He said that to political allies and opponents in his country, said it to foreign heads of state. "I control these people. Don't you worry," end quote. That quote from Tucker is a true statement in that Mr. Netanyahu actually did say that out loud to other people. I've seen the videos of his saying it, the speeches in which he said it, which he apparently didn't know was being filmed. He also said that if the Israeli people kicked him out of office, his replacement likely would not have the same level of control. I just don't understand why Donald Trump would put up with it. Blackmail, bribery, some other form of extortion. I don't think Donald Trump needs the money. So it has to be something more sinister than just raw greed. Apparently, the statement about control was too much, though. Too much even for Trump, who has been loyal all the way to Bibi. In response, he said he would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank, and his proposed peace plan does not include Israeli occupation of Gaza. We'll see. We'll see what happens with regard to the West Bank and the peace proposal as Trump talks to different people, because he has been known to change his mind from time to time. Leadership in the U.S. military apparently has a hard time accepting Israelis in their command structure. The people out there on the front lines of battle, our sons, our daughters, putting their lives on the line for an ungrateful foreign country doesn't sit well with me or them. Here's another true story exposed by Tucker that occurred during the recent 12-day war between Israel and Iran, which culminated in a U.S. attack on Iran. IDF officers were at the Pentagon during the war. They enraged American officers by just barging into meetings, giving orders, making demands. Nobody did anything about it. They apparently did the same thing with the Secretary of Defense's office during the Iraq War. Netanyahu defends his actions. He defends these actions by calling anyone who disagrees with him anti-Semitic. The term he has grown fond of is, quote, woke Reich, end quote. I suppose to paint anyone who criticizes his policies as a Nazi. Tucker has been relentless and very courageous in his efforts to portray Israel accurately. He doesn't use harsh language or call anyone names. He just gives known facts that anyone wants to talk about. For example, he's willing to point out to the American people several actions Israel has taken that no nation with any self-respect should put up with, certainly not from a foreign country that could not even exist without the assistance of the U.S. For one thing, the 1967 attack on the USS Liberty, a U.S. ship in international waters, strafed and bombed by Israeli fighter jets, which were supplied to Israel by American taxpayers. Despite the attacks on the unarmed ship, the Liberty, and its crew, in the finest tradition of the U.S. Navy, refused to die. Not content to kill many U.S. sailors on the ship, they strafed and machine-gunned survivors in the water. Why would this ally, this special ally, do such a horrible thing? It was apparently to blame the attack on Egypt, which would draw the U.S. into the Six-Day War. That's what they hoped anyway, apparently. No list would be complete without the tremendous amount of Israeli spying on the U.S. military and technology companies. He, that is Tucker, accuses Israel of selling U.S. secrets and U.S. technology to China. Despite all this and much more, U.S. politicians demonstrate continued slavish loyalty to Israel. A quote by Nikki Haley, who I believe was in the Republican primaries at the time, comes to mind. She said, I'm paraphrasing now, folks, she said, Israel doesn't need the U.S. needs Israel. I, along with Tucker, ask, in what world could that statement possibly be true? The murder of Charlie Kirk, close friend of Tucker's, apparently caused him, along with Charlie, to start asking if the things assumed about Israel are really true. I don't know. Maybe it was Tucker who influenced Charlie rather than the other way around. That would make sense in a weird way. Tucker talks to Charlie and speaks at his conferences about Israel and what is happening in Gaza. Charlie's audience was predominantly college and high school age people, and virtually none of those people support Israel in Gaza. So Tucker points out that there are very serious problems and serious Christian issues with Israel and Gaza. Charlie listens to him. Charlie refuses to toe the line and take the money any longer. That was the thing that got him killed, even though Charlie was a grown man, a very intelligent one at that, who could speak for himself. I would not want that on my conscience. Am I saying that Israel or Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Koch? No, I'm not saying that. But there is an amazing series of coincidences involving Israel's demands and Charlie's turning down reportedly $150 million. One other thing, and that is Bibi's going public on video, calling for various social media sites to censor American citizens. I heard him tell people on video to approach Elon Musk about his site called X. He's not an enemy, Bibi said. He's a friend, so he can be convinced by mutual acquaintances. Convinced of what? To do what? And the answer is to censor Americans, to do the bidding of Bibi Netanyahu, to post his propaganda on X. This information puts Tucker Carlson in a very unique position at this point in history. The information he presents should infuriate the American people. That, of course, is the reason he's doing it. So there is the human cost of fighting wars for the benefit of Israel. The thousands of American dead, the hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of non-American dead, the permanently disabled requiring lifetime care, which brings up the cost in terms of money. The U.S. gives to Israel as a free gift $3.8 billion per year to do with as it sees fit. I point out that the U.S. has $37 trillion of debt and climbing. Do we give money to any other country without any say in what that country does with the money? That's not even what galls me so much, folks. What galls me so much about using that money to buy the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, they use our money to do that. Members of Congress tell me that each member of the House, each member of the Senate has his or her own AIPAC lobbyist assigned. In case you don't know what that is, that's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. So they buy us. They use our own money to do it. Pretty smart any way you look at it. If that were all, folks, it would be plenty. But as usual, it gets worse. Since the date that we remember as October 7th, 2023, the U.S. has given Israel about $30 billion for its wars in Gaza, Iran, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, many others. That's more per year than Israel's annual defense budget prior to that year. But Bibi doesn't have to worry about his budget. He doesn't need to be concerned about money and about paying for things. He doesn't have to worry about replacing used-up military equipment or maintenance on his F-35 stealth jets because he has the U.S., which, as he puts it, he controls. There are U.S. troops on the ground in Israel right now. I don't know if you know that. They man two THAAD missile batteries, which are designed as anti-missile defense weapons. In conclusion, folks, although not mentioned in this peace proposal, BlackRock, the gigantic American hedge fund, is funding several companies which support Israel. The report is from Francesca Albanese, U.S. Special Rapporteur for the Occupied Palestinian Territories. Gaza apparently has one of the world's largest gas deposits off its coast. Trump's no dummy. When it comes to the use of natural resources, Israel has virtually no natural resources. So could it be that Gaza will provide the funds for its own development into what Mr. Trump calls fabulous new cities envisioned in his proposal? Finally, folks, finally. In the book of Exodus, we are told that the Lord God, through Moses, his servant, said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go." When Pharaoh refused, 10 plagues were sent on him. When he still refused, despite all the previous plagues, God said, "Let my people go, or I will strike your firstborn dead." Pharaoh again refused, and he suffered the consequences. I wonder if God could once again be sending plagues to punish, but this time the role is reversed. I don't know, folks. I don't know. Maybe the theologians could shed some light on that. At least that's the way I see it. Until next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.